It's okay, it's just a test. You don't have to leave.
It was. I was about to tell you. But
To go off and they needed to check to see if it made some of the gates open where you guys could leave the building, but if it was a real fire. Alright, so we got 3 things we need to get done today. One of them would be giving you a chance to ask questions from the rest of that test review. So I told you it was number 99 in your binder for the first time last class. I told you I'd given it to you like a month ago. So if you would find that in your binder, make sure there's no questions from the second half of that you want to ask. Just to be clear, the question types from sections 1.9, 3.1, and 3.2 will not be on your next test. Well, some of the 3.2 stuff does. The stuff that in 3.2 that shows up again in 3.3, 3.4 is fair game, I guess. But and then that should buy you some time to also look over your quiz from last class that I had passed back on your desk. So as people are asking questions from the review that you don't need help with, you can look at your mistakes if you had any on last quiz. So the second thing will be me going over any parts of that you need me to. It's fine, just ignore it. Okay, hopefully that'll be the last test. Again, it's not a real thing. They're just trying to make sure the gates are working. So,
Teachers, just a reminder that that is a test of the fire alarm. It is not an emergency.
okay, and then the third thing, I thought we were going to start with this, but then it just made sense to do it after, just in case. There's no reason to do it at the start of class, but the true-false quiz, and that's very short, so I'll grade that and get it back to you today as well. So, it looks like from the test review, looks like questions 9, 10, 12, and then all parts of 14 and question 15. All of those would be good question types for your test, which again is next class. We'll finally get to test this and move on. So from the test review, which questions did you guys have trouble with? Yes, sir. 14C. Now, of course, just like it's been all year, I think the best resource to make sure you're ready for the test would be your quizzes. In this case, there's just the one quiz. But then your second best would be the test review. So, 14C, There's not one that was just like this on your quiz, but if it's on the test review, then I guess it's still fairly likely to be on the actual test. Okay, so for 14C, one thing that you need to consider, and I'm sure this will be on your test in one form or another, but you will need to solve an equation by condensing. So addition condenses to multiplication, and then at some point you need to FOIL this stuff together. And then it's going to look like one of those first equations we did way back in section 3.2 before spring break. This side has a natural log, this side has a natural log, so that's already balanced. So then you just need to make sure that the insides are balanced. It's a quadratic, so everything should be on one side set equal to 0. And we're going to hope that this factors, because that's quicker, but even if it doesn't factor, we can do quadratic formula if we have to. So 6 would be 3 and 2. Minus 4 minus 3. Okay, so then this equals 0 at 3 over 2, and this equals 0 at 2. However, you do have to be careful that one or both of these could be extraneous, especially on this little trick here that I haven't read. When you temporarily, it's not like these natural logs really go away, it's just that we ignore them temporarily. So you have to consider plugging in 3 over 2 here. That would give you something positive. Plug in 3 over 2 here, gives you something positive. Plug in 3 over 2 here, gives you something positive. It's okay to take the log of a positive number, so that should be part of our answer. Consider plugging in 2. This would be 3, 1, and 3, all positive numbers. You can take the log of positive numbers, just not the log of 0 or the log of a negative. Again, that doesn't mean that your answer can't be 0 and your answer can't be negative. It means that you can't evaluate a logarithm of those powers. Okay. Did you see what you needed from that? Okay. Anybody else that's going to ask about this one have something more specific? Okay, what else from test review? Sorry, if I get any more emails letting us know, I will pass that on to you, but nothing else. Okay, so that was it. Nothing else from the test review that you wanted help with? I will ask for that before the test next time. Okay, then let's move on to part 2 of our agenda here, which would be asking questions from number 98, which was the quiz from last class. And everybody in here has taken it, so no one needs to go out in the hall. But I would expect your test to be most similar to this. So just very quickly, change of base, expanding, condensing, expanding, condensing, and then solving equations. Basically what we've been doing for the last several weeks. So you will need to tell me, looks like we used forms L and M for this period. Yes, no?
2 and
Sorry, number 2 what?
M.
Number 2 from form M. So number 2 on form L is similar, but not exactly the same. So it says log base b of the square root of a minus b, and it asks us to find the expression that's equivalent to this. So basically they're going to want you to they're going to want you to expand this. So you can't just ignore the square root and pretend like it's not here. To start the question off, you need to change the square root to an exponent of a half, so that it's an exponent on something you're taking the log of and can come down out front. If you don't do that first, then you're just ignoring it and hoping that you deal with it correctly later, which is just a coin toss. Then division is one of two ways we can expand. So division expands as subtraction. Now this is 1/2 times all of this, so when you expand it, make sure it's 1/2 times all of it. Although I guess that didn't match up any of the choices. And this still doesn't look exactly right, but that's because one of these will evaluate. Even though it's not numbers, log base b of b, this is saying b to what power gives you b, so that would have to be 1. Is that okay? Yeah.
Number 5 on Form L.
Okay, Form L number 5. Okay, this is expanding, so log of a squared over b cubed c squared. So there's only two ways to expand, so your first step should be changing this division into subtraction. Since it's multiple choice, I guess you can see if that looks like any of the answers yet, and not quite. But the other type of expanding is multiplication, so you could have also expanded this into a b cubed and then a c squared. Now, the most common mistake is going to happen right here, and I'm sure this is a choice. I'll just be honest with you, I don't think that the test is has any multiple choice on it. But if it does, and this type of question's on there, I am sure that this is going to be one of the distractors, because this is very common. This was minus all of this. If you expand it, it's still minus all of this. So the 2 needs to come down out front. The 3 needs to come down out front. The 2 needs to come down out front, because those are all exponents on things that you're taking the log of. And then to make it look like one of the answers, you need to distribute this negative. So by far the most common wrong answer is the one that has a plus here.
Yes,
So
I did.
very easy to do if you're not careful, but that is a very, very, very common question type. So can't promise it to be on the test, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the test. Okay. Anybody else have something specific about that one before I take another? Okay, keep going then. I need the equations to solve. To me, those are much harder than the first 6, but okay. Then let me give you a few minutes before I give you your true-false quiz. Here were the couple of example type questions I gave to you guys last class, just to show you kind of what the format will be. So I don't know, looking over your past quiz or looking over your test review, I guess helps kind of indirectly, but give you a few minutes to look that over before we do that quiz. And if you do see something on the test review or your quiz from last class, still more than welcome to ask. We're not really in a hurry here, but also there's no point in waiting if you're ready to move on. Okay, let me give you 5 minutes and then I'll do that.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the last part here.
So you don't need to put your phones up or anything, but you do need to clear your desk off and make sure your phones are put up enough that you don't accidentally grab them. Quizzes and country beauty put up. This will be 100 in your binder. It is 17 questions, but again, I'm only going to count them half a point each, so. It's not going to sway your grade a ton, but I do want you to see if there's any misconceptions you have. And I'll go one step further and tell you that for all of our quizzes, there should be 7 true answers and 10 false answers. So 7 true, 10 false.
Your job to figure out which ones are which.
How many and how many?
7 true, 10 false.
Of course, your name will need to be on it. Please also number it as 100.
And you're welcome to turn it into the basket when you think it's as good as it's gonna get. And I'll grade it and get it right back to you today so that if you're making any weird mistakes, you have a chance to get it straightened out before the test on Monday. looks like all of those are in.
So I'm gonna pass those back to you guys. And if you do find any more questions from the test review, your quiz, or once you see your true false quiz, if you can't figure out why you had some of those switched up, obviously I would be happy to help. But if you have not given yourself a reminder about our test on Monday, please make that in whatever system you use. Even if you feel like you're well prepared for it, obviously reviewing for even 5 or 10 minutes can make a difference here.